Hello, and welcome to ARK, the complete series. Well, now that we managed to get ourselves our breeders to create our Tek Rex army, take on the Manticore, the next thing to do is... Well, obviously we need to actually breed all those Tek Rexes, and we need to level them up. And we need to get them ready for the actual Manticore fight. And that takes time. And we better get started. So, what is it we need to do? Well, I've actually got some actual eggs to go, but I've also got all of the different types of things, basically, that these Rexes will probably ask for, because what we've got to do, basically, is as soon as I hatch this thing out, a timer's going to start. Now, what I've actually done is, if you were watching the previous episode, I had the actual server set so that these things would mature in about 5 minutes. That ain't practical when it comes to actually imprinting, because the trouble is I want 100% imprinting. It's going to give me about 20% bonus to stats. I mean, even though I'm not going to ride the dino, I'm not going to get damage resistance and, extra damage from them. At least I'm going to get a big boost, to the stats. So it's in my interest to get 100% imprinting. So I've tweaked the server settings a bit. I've actually got them set to half an hour now, which is, it's okay for Rexes. I mean, I might want to be pushing this out to maybe an hour, but we'll see, because there are different ways you can deal with this imprinting. So one is the normal way. In other words, what we basically do is we'll pop one of these eggs out. It'll hatch. And we've just got to go and imprint it. So we haven't imprinted it per se. I mean, we haven't actually, started improving it in any way. I mean, yeah, it's what we'd expect now. Tek Rex, 20-odd thousand in health, 919 melee at the start, 2100 for its base stamina. You can see there's a timer just ticking away, just going down and down and down. When that timer expires, what's going to happen is this Tek Rex is actually going to ask for something. Now, fortunately for me, all this sort of stuff's been disabled, so that's a real boost. But one big problem is this thing's standing in, well, it's standing in some foundations, and I need to get it out of there first. That's the first thing before anything else, is I need to get it off foundations. I don't want it on any foundations. I don't want it on any ceilings, because it'll get stuck. It could ask for instance, a walk, and if it does and it's stuck, that's going to cost me. So first things first is I want to get this onto normal solid ground, basically. I mean, I've been hatching out. I mean, you might notice I've actually got some lamb chops down here from the mutton. I actually had my ovis actually hatched. Well, it didn't. It hatched. It actually popped out, but when I turned around to look, it was actually underneath the ground. I kid you not, it was underneath the ground. I have no idea how, and there was no way I could get it back. So that was a bit of a pain. But one thing I've definitely been remembering is I want this thing on solid ground. So we've now got to wait. So this is just the normal process we have to go through with any dino that that you're breeding. Basically, is it's going to be asking for something. We don't know what, just something. So we've got to wait for this timer to end, and then the dino is going to ask for something. So it could ask for, say, like a cuddle. It could ask for a walk. It could ask for these things. The kibble system has changed completely since I originally started. So now it's not just different types of kibbles. It could ask for a certain type of meat, a certain type of jerky. It could ask for a certain berry, for instance. Now for me, because I'm tweaking the server settings, walks are terrible. It can take a really long time before one of these will get imprinted from a walk. But we're just going to wait for this timer to end, and we'll see what it asks for. Fingers crossed it'll be a cuddle, but What do you want? Come on, come on, come on. Oh, you want measure berries. Right, so I'll just quickly pop some measure berries into that hot bar there. There you go, dude. Right. So we've got this thing as now 9% imprinted. And we're about... Right, yep, 9% imprinted. Ooh, 9%. So I can tell straight up I'm going to struggle here. I suspect I am going to have to push this server out to, well, an hour. At the moment, I've got it set for half an hour. Normally, it does go to plan within a half an hour, but it's very, very tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through this normal process here, and we'll see what happens at the end. Worst case scenario, yeah, I'm going to have to reboot the server. I'm going to have to change its settings and set it to an hour. Now, to be honest, I've got something like 19 Tek Rexes that I need to imprint. I've got quite a few more, to be honest. I've already been having a bit of a play around. I've already got this one left over just from the breeding, because I was playing around with that. It's imprinting to see what it will be like. Leveled it up and everything, and so I know what the settings are going to turn out to be. I've got another one up there. That was the one that I just imprinted, and I've been getting that some experience. So what I want to go over as well is all the different types of experience you can get for these things. But what I'm going to do is just basically, I'm just going to hang around here basically with this thing and just give it whatever it asks for. Normally what I would do is I'd get, say, like 4 of them. I mean, if I want 19 of these things, I'll probably do about 4 of them at once. And I need to make sure that I've got plenty of room to run up and down here. And I want it on follow. If I've got 4 of them, I'll probably take them beyond this wall, because sometimes I'll stop and say, oh, I want to go for a walk. Another one will just ask for something. But I need to be prepared, and I need to have that plenty of room, because when these things get fully, well, you know, way up to like adolescent and what have you, they're almost fully grown, so you got very limited room to maneuver. And by that stage, I'm usually on a thylacoleo, because I can't run far enough away before it's always on top of me anyway. And as I say, sometimes it would be a case of like they might just suddenly imprint just after like 1 or 2 steps. Sometimes I've had to literally run up and down like a base, you know, end to end about 5 or 6 times before it'll imprint. But yeah, I would just say there's one more option just to see out of curiosity what it asks for. But then what I'll do is I'll just take it through to the end off camera, and I'll tell you what we get. Right, so you want cooked prime meat, which is that. Nope, I didn't want to eat it. You were supposed to get that. So there you go. So we're now kind of, you see, we're very, very tight on the timing. It's got 18% imprinting. 18.8 or something. Yeah, it was about 18.8% maturation. So I have got very, very limited time, you know, time to maneuver. I've more or less got to answer whatever it wants practically straight away. But I have a sneak suspicion we'll have to wait for a, you know, reset the server basically to an hour. Bit of a pain. It's a lot better than the official settings, which are about just under 2 days, I think. But I'm just going to keep playing around with this, and I'll bring you back, and I'll let you know the results. Okay then, well, this really could go to the wire. It was actually getting better as time went past. There's only one time it's asked for a walk, which is really good for me, because walks tend to be terrible. Fortunately, we only had to go from about here to where that wall was, and it got itself an imprint. But I mean, we're at about 90 something in terms of the maturation, just under a minute and a half to go. So there's only one left. I only need one more imprint left. We're at 91%. So this last one, if we can get it before that timer expires, then we'll get all 100% of our imprinting. It would be a lot better, I think, if I'd had this server setting running at, you know, to mature this thing in about an hour. But yeah. Anywho, one thing I should have pointed out though is that in my case, because these, you know, the maturation setting is so low and these things actually mature so quickly, this thing's going from being a baby to a juvenile so quickly that there's no point me feeding it. As soon as it gets to juvenile, it actually feeds off the trough anyway. So as long as I've got plenty of meat in the actual trough, then I'm fine. And so in this case, yeah, I didn't have to bother. I mean, to be honest, they don't need that much. Like, you know, when you're starting out anyway. But yeah, you can see it's full. It's had all of the food that it needs. I'm just hanging around here with Bill over there because I'm using him if I need to run away. I mean, I suppose I could sprint, like, but you'd normally be doing this thing long before you were like getting into the tech era anyway. So 97%. Oh, this is really going down to the wire. This, yeah, there's no way I'd want to be trying this with 4 of them, because they end up out of sync, especially if one asks for a walk and the rest asks for like a cuddle or a certain item. Right, what are you going to ask for? Ooh, a Tinto berry. Right, there you go, dude. Oh, just. That's not bad. That's not bad. 100% imprinting with about roughly about 1% maturation left to go. So it is a bit eerie when it starts off. It's just so close. It says, oh, I'm at about 9.2% of, maturity, and you've got like 9% imprinting. Then it's about 18 point something percent when you've got 18% imprinting. As it goes on over time, as long as you can keep up and, answer it more or less straight away, in which case it's not asking for like walks, then you're fine. I mean, you can get away with this sort of stuff, but if you really want to play it safe, I'd probably go for like, 1 hour, especially if you want to be doing like several of these at the same time. So anyway, the good news is that one is now at full imprinting, which means this dude has 24,500 in health, 919 melee. Now, the thing to point out is this here. That's not accurate, because until it gets its first level, these figures are just garbage. They don't actually tell you the real figures. There's something weird. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is this. Pop it into a cryopod. So I can either wait for it to get a bit more experience. I could take it out and get an XP or whatever. Another thing I found is if I just put it into a cryopod and pop it back out again. Last time I did that, it worked. There you go. See there? See how the melee damage is now saying 1100. 2455. So those sort of settings aren't accurate the minute it gets that full 100% imprint for some strange reason. I noticed the health was okay, it was just the melee that was the issue. Anyway, it's getting dark, so I'm just going to wait until we're back in the light, because bad things happen during the dark. I'll bring you back then, and we'll carry on. Well, it's another day, so it's time to hatch another egg. Right, so I must admit this was a significant game changer for me. I don't know why the devs introduced this or why they let you do this, because it effectively renders the whole process kind of pointless. It used to be a case where you had to basically hatch these things out. I've got an egg here, so we'll just drop it. We'll claim our baby, and we've just got to. Well, I'm going to get it off the ground here. So that's a female. So we'll bring this one out here. So I don't want, as I said before, I don't want to get him stuck. Before, what used to happen was you always had to gather all these different types of kibbles. You had to go out and breed all sorts of dinos, mostly to be able to use them to actually tame certain dinos. Far as I remember, I think you had to get the kibble from the scorpion, Pulmonus scorpius, to be able to do the Rex, I think it was. So every dino needed a different type of kibble, and they've broken that down into a much simpler solution now. The imprinting itself is much simpler. What are you doing over there? Come on, this way. Oi, come on. So it's actually much simpler, as you saw. I mean, you can use berries, you can use cooked meats, cooked meat jerkies. So chances are the dino may not actually ask for any type of kibble, because that's one of the problems. Is like, I mean, if you're not interested in these kibble farms or what have you, you don't want to grow the crops, you don't want to make the kibble. What you could do effectively was you could just basically pop an egg out and go through this imprinting process. If you don't have what it wants, then that's it. That effectively halts your imprinting process. You can't get any further. The timer doesn't like restart or something after a while. It just stops. That's it. If you can't give this baby what it wants, once that timer has expired, that's it. You just can't get any further. So that was the problem. So what you could do, to be honest, you could just basically just hatch another egg out. And if you were lucky, then you'd have all of the things that baby asked you for. So there's always a way around it, to be fair. It just meant you'd have to spend more time. Now, of course, it's actually a lot easier. And to me, it kind of renders the whole system pointless. Because if you think about it, I mean, you might ask for, well, the baby might ask for a walk, it might ask for a cuddle, there's the berries it could ask for, cooked meats, cooked prime meat, all of those things are very, very easy to get a hold of. I mean, okay, you might struggle to find them over, so you've got to tame them on, sweet veg cake. So maybe the lamb chops will be a bit difficult. It might ask for the types of kibble and you're not interested. So in this case, right, it's asking for regular kibble. Let's just say we don't actually have any of that. So what do? Well, now we've got cryopods, so we pop it into a cryopod. Because when we pop this thing back out again, it's going to change its mind. It's going to ask for something different. So it means that you don't have to actually go to all this trouble of getting all these different types of kibble. I mean, they've made the kibble imprinting system itself a heck of a lot quicker. Easier, I should say. There's only a few different types of kibbles you need now, but because they've introduced all those other things, chances are you could probably get this thing whatever it wanted, and if you can't, you just pop it into a cryopod and pop it back out until, you know, and then keep going through that process of putting in a pod, popping it back out until you can actually give it what you want. So what is it asking for this time? Well, this time it wants to go for a walk. So that's easy enough, to be honest. So I mean, effectively, you could just keep putting it in, popping it out. The only thing to bear in mind is you've got this cryopod, you know, the cooldown timer on it. You've got cryo sickness. So if you pop that out and it gets cryo sickness, you can't put it back into the cryopod. Another thing to bear in mind is with my server settings being so low, the problem is, well, yeah. It's a case of I've got very limited time, and I'm wasting time putting that back into a cryopod. So I'd struggle to do something like that when the server settings are so low. But as long as you've got reasonable server settings, you can just say to heck with the actual kibble system and the whole thing that goes with it. You could just basically say, oh, I'm just going to give it a cuddle if it wants one, or I'll just give it a few berries if it asks. So they've made it so much easier because these cryopods. I mean, when it first, when that first started, I was amazed that actually happened. I thought they'd made a mistake, but it's not. It is actually deliberate, and they left it in. It's like, well, you know, you go to all this trouble with the kibble systems now, and it's pointless because, I mean, if you think about it, I'll just go over and, I mean, I've got like a load of dinos in there to still get all these different types of kibbles now. So I've got a few of them that I need to top this lot up. Most of it all went over to scorched earth. But to be honest, if I want to just go out and tame a dino that needs kibble, all I need is that. Because, I mean, I think it's one of these is which one's the basic? That one there, or simple, I think it is. It's like an order of superiority, if you will. And that type of kibble trumps everything. If you've got a dino that needs that type, for instance, you just give it something better. So effectively all you really need now is some Uties. Get the eggs from them, and you can create this extraordinary kibble. So that solves your taming needs. But since we can effectively bypass the whole imprinting system as well, we don't even need it for the imprinting. It's like, I don't know, what's the point? But what's even more interesting is that opens up a whole new debate because of this thing here, the S Plus Nanny. This thing was extremely controversial, probably still is, I suppose, to some people when it came out. But you can see it's got a big range on it. And what does this thing do? Well, it basically sort of like waves goodbye to the whole imprinting system, because this will imprint your dinos as long as they're in that range, you know, within that zone that that's around it. It'll imprint the dinos without you having to do anything. Nada, zip, absolutely nothing. So you just hatch your egg out, and your S Plus Nanny here will just do all of the imprinting. That's it. I mean, with my server settings, I mean, these babies, they'll be born and then they'll get to juvenile age and feeding off the trough pretty quickly anyway, so I don't have to feed them. I mean, if you've got much longer settings, you've got to spend that time to feed them. But the S Plus Nanny will also feed them while they're a baby and keep feeding them. But you don't actually give it anything. You don't put any kibble into its inventory. You don't give it any food to feed the baby. That is extremely controversial. I mean, you know, you could say that's extremely cheeky. But given that we can just pop a baby into a cryopod anyway and pop it out because we can't give it what it asks for, and we'll just keep doing that until it, you know, we get that whole thing solved. I don't know. I mean, that something like this, to be honest. It's like, well, you may as well just use this anyway. I mean, that whole kibble system and the whole process and the time that you would have spent building it that's kind of pointless if all you do is just, you know, put them into a cryopod of it if you're every time you just want to wait for a cuddle. Just bear in mind though, when you got, like, as I was saying, like, you know, when the server settings are so low, that's going to be extremely difficult. And another thing to bear in mind is you can't have very, very low maturation settings with this. Because with this, for instance, when I've got the server set at about 5 minutes to mature a Rex, I don't get 100% imprinting. So, how does this beastie work? Right, well, I called her a beastie, that's a bit unfair, she's not. I mean, her clothes are falling to bits, but that's about it, basically. I'm going to drop this on the floor. I'm going to activate her. We'll claim that. I don't want you following me. There's no point. So she's on active, so I'll just make sure. What should happen, you'll get like a little pair of hands will start to appear around the baby. I'm just going to make sure. Yeah, she's set there. There's an option up there. It says disable imprinting. You can change the amount of food and so on, but it's currently set, so she is, or at least she should be actually imprinting these things. It's saying 0%, so I'm going to have to probably wait. But what we should see is like a little pair of hands will pop up around the dino, and she'll start effectively imprinting them. Now, even when this thing, you know, when the timer expires, and it asks for something, we just don't do anything. There's no point. She's just gonna, you know, give it the necessary imprinting anyway. Because this is a bit of a pain. For some reason, I'm not getting anything. She has actually set there. Oh, and that's the other thing. If you want to run this, you've actually got yeah, you've got to feed it giant bee honey, which isn't that bad to get a hold of. I'm just gonna pull this a bit further out. I'm just kind of curious as to why. Normally, what I get is like you get like a pair of hands will suddenly appear above the baby. Yeah, because we're up to 5%. Oh, there you go. See, we're at 4% imprinting, 6% imprinting. Ah, see there? See like little fists there together? So that's actually imprinting. So we're at 5.8% maturation, 6% imprinting. So it's actually keeping pace. So, you know, this countdown time is going to expire, but I just don't need to do anything. Zip nada. I'm just going to leave it alone. She, despite her unfortunate state of clothing, I don't know what happened to her, but it's a case of I don't have to touch this dino now. I can just leave it. So I could pop out, you know, several of these Rexes, and I'll get them all tamed up pretty quickly. Like I say, I mean, you've got to be a bit careful with the server settings because, you know, 5 minutes doesn't work. I think I could get it to about 98% of imprinting. And to be honest, I wanted 100% anyway, so it's worthwhile just leaving it alone. Now the little icons have disappeared, the little hands have disappeared, which is a bit odd. Oh, there you go, they're back again. But either way, the good thing is, this should get me to 100%, and I don't even do anything. I just need, as long as she's, you know, she's within range, as long as I've got plenty of meat in the actual trough when it actually gets to juvenile, that's it. There you go. So now it's fading off the trough because you can see like a little trough icon around it, and it's asking for something. There's no point. I can just leave this alone. I mean, we're up to what, 10.8, 11%. It's just going to keep pace. It's just going to making sure that the imprinting gets done. So it's only going up gradually. You saw like when I was doing it the normal way, it's going up in chunks of about 9%. Here it's just going up by about 1%, I think it is. But yeah, we can just leave it. So what I need to do now is just get all of my dinos hatched and ready to go. Because after we've actually got all of these all imprinted, we've actually got to start, well, we've got to get them experience. I need to get them up to like level 450. So how do you do that? That's what we'll need to find out. So, be back in a while. So now that you've actually got your dinos all bred, they've been imprinted, they've all matured, what do you do to actually get them leveled? How much experience do you actually need to get them to, like, 450 max level, for example? Well, it really depends on, what the level is that you're starting with and the maximum level you're aiming for. So for me, for instance, I've got these 382 Rexes, and I need to get them to 450 because that's going to be my cut-off point. I'm not going to go beyond 450. I could, but as far as I'm aware, on official servers, 450 is the max level. So that's my cut-off point, which means I need to get these things 68 levels. Now that is about 1.4 million experience. And that is a lot of experience. I mean, if you can push this, if you've got like lower level dinos, or if you want to go beyond that 450 limit, you're looking at potentially 73 levels that you can improve your dino with. But that's 3.5 million experience. I mean, that is a massive jump just to get those extra 5 levels. So, I mean, if we look at this dude here, for instance, I mean, we're going from about 24,000 to 40,000, from about 1100 melee to 2150. And for me, that's going to cost me 68 levels. So basically, what are my choices here? I mean, I've got all these dinos. They've just been born. They've just been matured. I need to get them 68 levels. Well, there's two options basically. You can either do what's passive experience. In other words, there's no fighting. There's no killing. So you just leave the dino lying around. Effectively, just leave it around the base. As long as this area of the map is active, as long as there's somebody here keeping the game, running effectively in this area of the map, your dinos gain experience for doing nothing. So if we look at these little dodos over here, for instance, I mean, this thing's got 73,500 experience just for standing here, basically. To be fair, it's been around pretty much since the actual entire series has actually started. So if you think about it, yeah, it's probably not all that good. I mean, but just to give you some sort of like comparison, I mean, these ankylos, they've been around pretty much since the start as well. They're up to almost 70,000 experience, but if you look, that's nearly 53 levels. I mean, I only need to push in another 15 levels to get this, for like the equivalent of a Rex. So I'll have to just standing around. I mean, that's quite an incentive, really, just leave them standing around doing nothing. But I know I'm going to have to seriously push them because, yeah, if it's taken this long to get 70,000 experience, think what it's going to take to get like 1.4 million. I mean, it just sits there, does nothing, and it's a case of the game gives it experience just for existing, basically. But what they have done, I mean, they have tweaked that slightly, because since they introduced cryopods, what you can actually do is you can put a dinosaur into a cryopod, put that cryopod into a cryo fridge, and then you'll get a 5% bonus to the XP that you gain passively. So just to give you some perspective, I mean, this Tek Rex here, this is the male final breeder, and he's been standing around doing nothing. He's got, just over 9,000 XP, 38 levels. Now these females, this is interesting, I find, because when the females were matured, I just put them straight into a cryopod, straight into a cryo fridge, because just leaving them lying around, it was going to cost me more meat. I would have to do a lot more food runs. So, yep, put them straight into the fridge. And look at the difference. They've been around for the same length of time that male has been. So, not that long, several weeks. But we're talking about 36,000 experience. We're up to 49 levels. I mean, if you think that ankylo back there's got about 70,000 experience, been around since practically the dawn of time. It has got about double that, but it's still only 4 points off, so it could save you, some time if you just want to leave them lying around, basically. But obviously, looking at that ankylo as an example, it's a case of, yeah, realistically, we'll never get to like level 450 just through passive experience. It just ain't gonna happen. So this is where we've got to start getting a bit serious. We actually have to level our dinos, and you do that by killing other dinos. Now, every species that's out there gives you a different amount of experience depending on the level of the dino. So it's in your interest to go out and kill high-level dinos and of certain breeds, basically. The original way of doing it was pretty much right up in the northeast. There's an island. It used to be called Carno Island because it's basically where you find a lot of carnivores. It got renamed to the Dead Island, and you basically would just take a big convoy of Rexes all the way up there, across the sea on a a raft, and then you would just clear the entire island out, go round and around in a circle. Because you get all sorts of dinos right up to Rexes. Sometimes you'll get Alpha Raptors, Alpha Carnos, Alpha Rexes. So there's quite a bit of good experience to get out there. But that kind of went out of fashion, and I did actually go back and I did test it again. This dude here, you can see he's level 421. He's just about to get to 422, but I got him to level 421. He was imprinted, so this is the dino you probably saw in a previous episode when I was doing all these mutations. So all I did with him was just give him the imprinting. He was left standing around for a short while, and then I took him up to the to Dead Island. Now I was there for about 2 hours, just to give you some perspective here. 2 hours, and I was riding this dinosaur here, killing all sorts of, well, pretty much anything that we could see. He was eating it all up, because that's something else to bear in mind is you've got to kill the dino and you've got to harvest it. You get a certain amount of XP for that, for both. So if you want the full XP, you've got to kill it and you've got to harvest it. So I was just going round and round the island with this dude, and I was riding it, so you could improve it slightly, because there's a bit of shared experience going on when you're riding a dino. If you just leave it to itself, put it on aggressive and just get it to follow you around the actual island with say like an RG or something that you're flying on, or you could just target onto certain dinos. It doesn't get the benefits of the damage resistance or the melee damage, but at least it's getting better experience back. Not a great deal amount, I must admit, but it does get a lot more. But even still, you're talking about 2 hours of just grinding, going around, killing everything. And the respawn rate is really, really fast. Usually I'd get maybe 1, maybe 2 dinos every pass, but I think I only got something like 4 Alpha Raptors, 1 Alpha Rex, and 1 Alpha Carno, and they were usually pretty low level anyway. But either way, we still got quite a lot of XP. You can see this dude here, he's up to about 10,000 XP. So once I give him that 1 extra level, that takes him up to 422. So we've gone up by 40 levels basically, because I brought him back here and he's just gained a bit more XP since, but effectively that's 40 levels for 2 hours of work. That's a lot. So there is a better way, and that better way is, well, it's why all these things are around here. All of these dinos, you breed them, they'll give you eggs, and it's a case of you hatch those eggs out and you feed them to your own dinos, and you'll get XP out of them. Now, as I said before, it varies, the amount of XP you get. And what I'm finding, or at least based on the original information, I've done some checks for myself, is sure enough, normally what I would have done is I would have gone out with these Rexes. These are my kind of mid-range Rexes that I had. These were ones that I bred with 10 mutations in health, 10 mutations in melee, and these were going to be the ones I was going to use for the Manticore. These ones over here, these are our super duper ones that we're aiming for max level. So you're going up from like level 327 to 382 on these. So normally I've just basically, created all these breeders and then popped out the eggs for the actual Rexes, and then I've just hatched out a load more Rexes and fed them to those dinos that we're going to use in the actual boss fight. So that's what we're going to do, just to give you some perspective. Because as I said, you get a different amount of experience per level. So these things are 327 Rexes. So just pop out one of these Rexes that I've got here. So this is a 382. So it should have the full imprinting, but pretty much nothing else. So just double check. You need a saddle as well. I'm actually going to have to make a lot more better saddles because I've run out. So, right, you've got full imprinting. Okay, so you'll be okay. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this thing on aggressive. I want this thing to basically take out all of these Rexes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just to give you an example, I'm going to take out, we're going to go through about 20 Rexes. And we'll do 10 at a time. We're just going to let the Rex here eat them. Everything else is on passive on this base. I don't like doing it. The only alternative was to basically put them into cryopods. And I'm just going to get out of its way. And off it goes. So it's going to eat all of those. Right, it's eating those ones. Right. We'll get you another 10. Don't worry. I'll get you some more. I mean, the good thing is, actually, to be honest, you get quite a lot of XP out of it. Well, they get a lot of XP, but you get a lot of food out of this as well. And it's actually a good way to even level other types of dinos. So you can use this method where you're just leveling your own dinos based on, well, eating its siblings, or you could level a different type of dino once you've, you know, created all of your ones. I mean, I could have just used these to like breed the next gen of like Therizino, for instance, and they're going to getting all their experience off Rexes. So I'll just get out the way. Whoa, dude, can you be more careful here? Thankfully, it can't do me any damage. I'm going to get out of the way here. It takes a bit longer than if you ride it, and it sometimes can get stuck, to be fair. I've seen times where they'll just literally go around spinning around in a circle, which is hilarious. They just go around and around in a corner or something while they're trying to harvest the corpse. But this is just to give you some perspective. So we've got about 24,000 XP, so that's not too bad. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset this, because that's how much you get from the Rex. Roughly about, we're getting about 24,000 there out of 20 of these. So these are level 327 Rexes. The stats are irrelevant. You're getting a certain amount of XP per level. Just to let you know, using these Tek Rexes here that are level 382, so they are 55 levels higher. To be fair, the improvement's not that big. I know when I did a test, I went from about 22,000 with those normal Rexes while I was riding the dino, and then I did the same test with 20 of these Tek Rex eggs, and I got 27,000. So I gained about 5,000 XP on those dinos. So that's the difference, basically, going from 327 to 382. Doesn't matter what the stats are, doesn't matter whether they're Tek Rexes or Rexes, it's just a Rex. So yeah, it was a bit of an improvement. But how does that compare to like a Spino? Because a Spino actually gets you more experience per level than a Rex. I mean, I'm gobsmacked, to be honest, because I thought the Rex was pretty much the, you know, the alpha, the apex predator. I mean, forget the gigas, but for now, but I thought the Rex would have been better than the Spino. But no, you actually get more experience by killing Spinos than you do from Rexes, and I'll show you that in a minute. So what I did is I just went out and I got myself a 150 Spino. No interest whatsoever in the stats. I just want the level, because that's all it boils down to. You get so many experience points per level. So I went out, got a 150 Spino. That was a female. So obviously when that tamed out, it came out at 224. So I did quite a bit of breeding. So this is the product of a 224 and a 180 basically. And then this one was then used to get all my other females. So they are, let's see, so they're a product of a 224 original female and this 236. So he was an offspring of the original female. Now that other dino, it must have had better stats. Some of the stats must have been better. So I've obviously improved from a 224 upwards. Because you see, that's what she tamed out at. But just to give you, this is just to give you some perspective, because these are 236 Spinos. They are 327 Rexes. So we're just waiting for that to time out. Put this one back into a cryopod. I just want to drop that on the floor because it's going to be easier for me to do this I'll know exactly which cryopod he's going into. So we'll put him into a cryopod, and we'll get another one out, and then we'll do a comparison just so you can see what it's like with these spinos. So let's get another 382. If we go with, right, we'll go with that one there. So that's that's one. It's been fully imprinted and everything. No, it's not. Drat. This is the one I've already been testing with. Right. What I'm gonna have to do is I need to wait for that cooler timeout. You know, the cryo sickness to time out. So I'm just gonna wait for that. I'm gonna put him away, and then I'm gonna get another one out that I can test again. So see you in a short while. Okay, then. So slight gaff on my part, but this dude here, 24,000 roughly. I mean, he's got like 20 levels. He's just the very fact that he's like gone up to 2,288. Just crazy. I mean, as soon as he was like fully matured, I've just popped him into a cryopod. I've just now popped him back out. And it's like, this is nuts. Anywho, what we want to do is test this dude against Spinos just as a comparison. So we will set you on to aggressive. I mean, I'd say you can actually just go around riding if you want. No big deal. Just bear in mind you won't get as much. You'll get a reasonable improvement. I did it with like some others. I think I got like about 4,000 experience by letting the dino just eat everything on its own. So we want 20 as a equal sample, and I'm going to have to get quickly out of the way here. Get another 20. And that's that. I know it's my dino, but it still freaks me out of nothing wandering around just eating everything. Right, okay, so... No! Dude, man, not me! Right, have you eaten everything? Have you satiated your appetite there, dude? Hey? Right, let's have a look at this one in comparison. So, this one's on about 33,000. So, we've gone from about 22,000, I think it was, to 33,000. So that's a big jump. You know, that's about an extra 10,000 just because this one thing was eating spinos. But if you look over here, these spinos are only level 236 versus, you know, 327 Rexes. There's nothing particularly special about them. I didn't give them like any mutations to boost their levels. I just took a 150, bred it with I think it was a 180 something, and made it a bit better. So it's like we've gone from 224 to 236. So I could make these spinos actually better, and to be honest, I should have done that at some point where every time I like hatch out these eggs, I should be keeping an eye out to see if one of them's matured, and then I could just feed it back into the line. So that way the babies are getting better and better until I get to a point where I've got, you know, things like these where I've got like really high spinos, and I'd get a lot of XP. So that's one option. I mean, especially if you're going to like use these spinos yourself for, you know, other purposes, and you want to breed super duper dinos. The trouble is that these things, like, they fade in comparison. Even when you're going from like a Rex in comparison to like a spino, it's a massive difference to when you start to go to gigas. Now, I was extremely lucky to find a 145 giga on this map. I was up, I think it was just after I brought the series back again. I'd cleared the map because we were up against, what was it? I think everything, we were still running with the winters, yeah, it was the Christmas event had been going on, and I just decided, oh, I'll clear the map out. So I cleared everything, went for a bit of a wander, and there was a 145 female, I should say, over on Winter's Mouth. And I was really lucky again because there was a 25 giga wandering around next to her. Unfortunately, they split off, so it was pretty easy to get this one on its own. And then I just went after another male, just bred these. I haven't improved them until now because I've now got that male. He's got a mutation in melee, and I've got a female over there who's got a mutation in health. So what I'm doing is I'm hatching these out now, So we're starting at 217. So I'm, you know, if I'd get into 150, I'd be on 224 or upwards, like I would be with these Spinos. But even still, it's a massive, massive difference. So always I would suggest keep your eye out for a Giga, because even if you don't want to use them for, you know, like go into the King Titan fight, for instance, on Extinction, you can take these things into the King Titan fight. You can use them for all sorts of great things. These things are ideal for Extinction. So I would seriously say keep your eye out for a high-level Giga. The spawn rate on Gigas, I mean, you only get very few of them. But they're like the Quetzals. Trying to find a high Quetzal on this map is extremely difficult. And when you do, you want to tame it as quickly as possible, because I find they seem to just disappear within a matter of, like, you know, days. They're just gone from the map. There's nothing out there that's going to kill a Giga. I've never actually seen one of these go out against like a Titanosaurus, for instance. The Quetzal is up there flying on its own, minding its own business, and yet they do disappear. So the game despawns them after a while and then brings new ones in. But if you ever find a high level Giga, make sure you get it. And I'll show you why, because we'll pop this dude into a cryopod, and then I'll get another one out, and we'll do the same run, except we'll actually do it with Giga Eggs. The trouble with these is they are so heavy. I can only do about 5. I can only carry about 5 of these things at a time. Now hopefully I'll find a Rex. I should have been a bit more careful and done a bit better planning here. So let's see if this one's the one we want. Right, okay, so that one you can see, this is just literally fresh out of the cryopod. 0.6 health experience. It'll go up pretty quickly, because you saw that other one jumped up quite high. Right, what we'll do is we'll go and get some Giga Eggs, assuming I've still got some. Yes, I have. So as I say, I mean, at the moment, I'm only just starting to improve the actual breed with those Gigas. I wasn't planning to, but I thought, actually, I should do, really. There's no reason not to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop these. Just going to see if I get anything better, because I do want to keep an eye on it. They take a while to... Yeah, they do take a while to incubate. But they're just so heavy, I can only carry so many at a time anyway. Want another 5 of them. Fortunately, they just stand around there. They're just like, yeah, whatever, I don't mind. You're a 221. Oh, you're a 221. Trouble is, I always keep glitching on these things. They're only little, but they seem to have quite a reach. So, nope, still 210 melee. So we don't need you. So I mean that 221 over there will give us more XP. I mean, if you get like twins, if you get triplets, it's not like a fair sample, to be fair. Because you can get twins, you can get triplets, so you might, you know, your dino might get eat a lot more. Oh wow, that one stands out because it's green. Nope, still only 210. Boobar. Right, go and hatch another 5, so we're on 10 so far. Yeah, I just keep glitching on them. It's kind of like with the Rexes, I glitch on their tails. Even though I seem to be like a long distance away from them, I still manage to glitch on them. Right, I'll go and get the other 5. So this is going to give us 20, so it's a fair representation. Oh, I'll have to be careful that. I only want to drop 5 of them then. Tell you what. Just so I don't make a mistake, you keep that one. 2 19s, 2 17s. Okay. Yeah, I mean, what I'm having to do though is I'm having to make sure that everything around here is on passive. If this thing goes on onto aggressive, anything that's on neutral will come and join in. And I don't want that. Any 221s? Any takers? No. Okay. Right, it's over to you, dude. Let's show us what you can do. So it might take a while because, as I say, it'll only take out so many at a time. I mean, I can take them out a lot quicker if I ride it. But the thing is, it's going to get more experience. I mean, I got, let's see, yeah, I think I got about 10,000 more experience when I was pitting one of these against gigas than if I'd actually just rode it. But you just got to be patient because it's, especially if it gets stuck, because it's gonna eat them and it's gonna kill them and it's gonna eat them. So it's a case of it's gonna take its time. It's not in a rush. Come on, dude! I'm doing a video episode here. Can you like hurry it up here? You haven't got all day. Well, probably have actually. It's yeah, it's getting late. Oh, dude, come on! Right, I'm gonna have to get these signs out of the way because this is not gonna do. Oh, all right. So you're running away from me, right? Oh, that's okay. Well, that certainly helped anyway. I was gonna pick the signs up because they were getting stuck behind the signs. Oh, come on! Right, I'll pick that up. There you go. That's better. I'm not picking the fridge up. Not happening. I've got too much invested in that fridge. Oh, come on, dude. Wow! I'm gonna have to... Oh, no. I've lost a foundation in the process. Did I pick the foundation up? Yeah, I picked the foundation up by mistake. Right, have you finished? You've eaten everybody, have you? I'm just gonna go around and double check, because just in case it's left anything around. It shouldn't do, but you never know. Right, so what did you get for those? Look at that. 107,000. There's no comparison. We've gone straight to 55 points that we can put into this dude here. Just by giving it 20 giga eggs. That's a massive jump. So you're talking about 20 something thousand for those Rexes I've got out there. So they were 327s. It was about 27,000 I was finding I was getting off Tek Rexes. About 33,000 with a Spinos. And these dudes are doing well over 100,000, with the gigas. There's just no comparison. You've got to go out there and you may as well tame them, even if you don't particularly want to use the gigas. At least get them, breed them, so you can feed them to to Rexes, because it'll go a lot quicker. I mean, just to give you a rough ballpark figure, I think it'll take me something like 250 giga eggs to now get all the way up to 1.4 million. That's 250. So I've just done the first 20. That's just to give you some perspective. It's such a big jump to get to 1.4 million that we're looking at roughly 250 giga eggs. So it's a lot, but we'll get there a heck of a lot quicker than Rexes. I mean, to be fair, I mean, if you've got say you've got Megatheriums, you want to breed Megatheriums, you'd probably just get the Megatheriums to eat the other Megatheriums while you're trying to improve the actual breeding anyway. You'd probably do the same for, like, if you're breeding the Therazinos, because you've got to get rid of those babies that you don't want anyway. But if you've got, if you're breeding different species at the same time, you can solve two problems. You can just improve the breed. So, for instance, in this case, I'm trying to improve the breed of those gigas now. And at the same time, I'm taking advantage of that by feeding those babies I don't want to my Rexes, so I can get experience out of the Rexes at the same time that I'm improving the breed of those gigas. So try and time it where you can, and things will go a lot better. But yeah, long way to go. Long way to go. But that's not bad. Not bad to start, like 107,000. And I've got 19 of the beasties to do. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I do hope you've enjoyed watching it. If so, then do please leave a like, because that'll help the channel out a great deal. For whatever reason, YouTube seems to think, if a video has got likes, then other people might like to actually watch it, in which case they push it out to other people. So yes, any likes that my videos get, I really do appreciate them. If you're new to the channel and you'd like to see more content like this, then yes, do please subscribe. Just remember to click the little bell icon though, because then you get notifications when I send you content out. And if you've got any comments, any suggestions, if you want to leave any feedback at all, please post that in the comment section below. Till the next episode, thanks very much for watching. Bye!